in Ireland. Why 1971?
Okay, well, there was 2 points as well. Why? It could be any year, which is an unfortunate thing to say. It's the truth. That comes back to why I want to make the film. When I read it, it just felt incredibly pertinent. Kids growing up in conflict, it didn't feel like just a historical document. It felt like it had universality, and it could apply to almost any conflict that's going on at the moment. At the time I was reading it, at the time I was in development, Ukraine hadn't happened, but it could be the Ukraine, it could be Iraq, it could be Afghanistan. This, with a sectarian divides and civil war, the point you're making. Why 71 specifically? Because it was this period, though we don't try to take anyone to school, and we're not trying to make a historical document, but it was a period of what they called internment. And it was a really, really misguided piece of legislation where they were entering Catholic communities and raiding houses, and they imprisoned, I mean, like 400 men and women, men and boys for as suspected terrorists, but they weren't. It was just a way of trying to crush them, and it backfired on them because the period of internment and then the Bloody Sunday, as everyone knows, because of Greengrass's wonderful movie, were the biggest recruitment drives for the professional IRA. And they were 71 and 72 were the years with the most casualties. But that period, though I don't go at pains to explain it, when I started looking at pictures, and because they were going to be, when we were in prep, they were starting to be more, they were the producers and the writers were like, maybe we could be unspecific. I was like, no, I love this period in 71, because when I was looking at research images, it looked apocalyptic, the landscape, because as a reaction to internment, the Catholic communities ripped up paving slabs, piled up cars at the end of their streets, set them on fire. They were basically barricading themselves in just to try and protect themselves from the RUC. And when you looked at the images and the fact that black tires were burning, creating black smoke, everyone was using coal to heat their homes. So there was black smoke everywhere. It looked like something from Cormac McCarthy's The Road. And I thought, wow, this is quite an apocalyptic landscape, and I'd never seen it before. So I wanted to be specific without having to give a lesson on it.
Thank you. Question here?
Oh, yeah. I thought the look of the film was brilliant, especially the night scenes. Can you talk a little bit about the lighting you used and the challenges of shooting in light?
Questions about the night scenes and shooting in low light.
Well, thank you. I worked my DOP, I said, for 9 years, and we did an incredible amount of prep on this. And we chose in the end to use 16mm film for the day scenes because we liked the textures and the way it reacted to the highlights. And that period is the period of 16mm. All the archive footage I was looking at, all news footage was always on 16mm. It just felt like the right move. And I liked the way it worked with the greens and the reds, the uniforms and the red bricks. But as the sun went down, we wanted something, and I wanted to distance ourselves a little bit from realism and start to go to a bit more of a mythic place, a mythical look. Well, mythical look's the wrong thing, but the journey take on a bit more mythic qualities and be slightly impressionistic at times. And we chose to use digital format because I just didn't want to light the streets, and I wanted to feel like it would have been at the time. Obviously, we did quite a bit of lighting, but the Alexa allowed us to have very minimal lighting. And we made, the DOP is really thorough with the gaffer. I wanted a sodium light that they would have had at the time. So we sourced the bulbs, the sodium bulbs and the mercury bulbs that they were using in 1971. And then we just let it react to the digital format as it does naturally. So it created that look.
That's interesting. You didn't shoot in Belfast, is that correct?
No, because I was desperate to, and they had money for us as well. It would have been nice, but I came on board. I was like, we have to do it in Ireland. It's their story. It'd be wrong not to. And I went there, and Sinn Féin were true to their word. They've torn down all these houses, and they've built affordable homes, barrack housing, and now it looks like any British provincial town. And more importantly, when I started developing the screenplay with Gregory Burke, who's a wonderful writer, who deserves most of the praise, to be honest with you. I wanted to pull it out of terrace streets, terrace houses, because visually I was going to get bored. And when I was doing research, I found this amazing estate, this amazing structure, brutalist architecture, called the Divis. I was like, we've got to set the film there. And he was into it, and we started writing it, but they've torn it down. They tore it down because it was unpoliceable. It was like a fortress. The army used to they occupied one top floor of one of the tower blocks. They used to airlift the soldiers in and out because you could not enter the Divis. It was like a no-go zone. You know, they throw TVs on you and all kinds. It was just insane. And so I searched everywhere. That once the final act, if we're going to use that language, was set on that estate, it became the bulk of the shoot. It became like 25, 30 pages in one place. So we did a big search and we found the spitting image of that, and it was derelict, so I could use it as a lot in Sheffield. And then that became the building block of the shoot. But I wasn't going to use English actors with accents, so it was quite expensive. So not only could we not get the Irish screen money, but I flew all the Irish actors over. I was not going to use English actors doing accents.
Makes sense. Sorry, there's just a question right here. We'll go there first. Go.
Just great casting choices. I thought it was wonderful. I wonder if you can tell us about the young actor who played the boy with the command presence, who tries to rescue Private Cook.
Question is about the young boy who plays the boy with the command presence, you said.
I understand what you mean. You mean the child that gets blown up?
The child, yes.
Yes. Corey McKinley. God, I love that kid. A boxer. He's a boxer in Belfast. 10-year-old boxer. You know, he never acted before in his life. We did a search, wide search. I've used a lot of non-actors before. Cameron generously mentioned Top Boy at the front. There's something like cast street kids. And even my shorts, I've kind of got a history working with non-actors. I used this casting director called Gina J, and she had contacts in Belfast. I said, look, obviously we have to meet the kids that act, but let's try boxing gyms, youth clubs. And I've had a lot of success in the past from boxing gyms. I mean, there's something about boys that really takes boxing seriously, that they can focus, and they're used to listening to a man that's not their father. They're used to listening to someone taking direction, essentially. He's amazing, though. I mean,
time for just one or two more questions. Is there anyone in the back or the balcony who'd like to ask a question? Just raise your hand, please. Yes, go ahead right there.
Just want to compliment you. You really captured Belfast.
It's a compliment that you really captured Belfast.
Thank you so much, man.
All right, last question right here, sir.
I was wondering, I didn't see on the credits, did you use any technical advisors, people that had been in the conflict themselves? Did you talk to people that had been through that before you started filming?
The question is, did you use any technical advisors who had been through the conflict?
Yeah, at the script stage when I came on board, I spent a few weeks in Belfast. I spent 2-3 weeks there. I met people that were involved and active on all sides. There was more to get the textures of the story right. They were, at the highest level on all sides, as well as families of victims. And you asking more about the technical side of things. I had an army advisor on the shoot who had served in Northern Ireland. So that's how we went about, getting it technically right, how the soldiers behave, how they would react, and a lot of the other details of how the actual IRA were, what they were doing, what the UVF were doing. I got from meeting with UVF members and IRA members.
Thank you so much, Jan. I'll just ask you to please join me in thanking Jan de Man, director of 71.
Thank you very much.